is not fought on open fields, nor waged with weapons and armies. The most profound struggle is silent, invisible, and constant. It takes place in the space between thoughts, in the storm of emotions, in the unrelenting clash of impulses and reason. This battle is within, and it is far more important than any external war. Conquer it, and no outside force can truly defeat you. Lose it, and no outside victory can truly save you. The human mind is the ultimate battlefield. Every choice, every reaction, every step forward or backward begins with a thought. And yet, so often, thoughts arrive uninvited, shaped by fear, doubt, anger, and insecurity. When left unchecked, they grow into chains that drag life downward. Emotions, too, surge like powerful tides. At times they uplift, but just as quickly they can pull one into depths of despair. Those who live enslaved to these inner currents find themselves tossed endlessly, controlled by every wave of circumstance. But those who rise to mastery, who learn to command thought and emotion, gain the power to walk through life unshaken. It is not the circumstances of life that dictate greatness. It is the command over the inner world. Two people can face the same storm. One collapses in fear while the other grows stronger in the wind. The difference is not in the storm itself, but in the mind that interprets it. That is why control over thoughts and emotions is not a luxury, it is survival. Without it, every external success feels empty, fragile, and easily stolen. With it, even in moments of hardship, there is a foundation of strength that cannot be broken. The battle within is not fought once. It is daily, relentless, and demanding. A single moment of weakness can allow anger to destroy relationships, fear to destroy opportunities, or doubt to destroy potential. But a single moment of mastery can transform despair into hope, confusion into clarity, and hesitation into courage. The direction of a life can change in an instant, depending on whether the mind is ruled or the ruler. Understand this truth. The mind is both a weapon and a trap. It can elevate to heights unimaginable, or it can bury under the weight of imagined limitations. Emotions can be allies, fueling passion, courage, and love. Or they can be enemies, igniting rage, envy, and despair. Control is not about suppressing them or denying their existence. Control is about guiding them, channeling them, using them instead of being used by them. The world is full of distractions designed to seize attention. Every noise, every notification, every demand from others fights for control of the mind. If that control is surrendered, life becomes a reaction rather than a creation. Instead of living with intention, existence becomes nothing more than drifting, tossed by whatever comes. True freedom is not the absence of chains in the outside world. True freedom is the absence of chains within. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and warriors in history all understood this. Their strength did not come only from strategy, power, or resources, but from an unshakable mastery of their inner state. They could face chaos without falling into it, endure pain without losing vision, and stand in storms without bowing to fear. Their secret was not mystical, it was discipline over mind and emotion. This is why the first step to transformation is recognition. Recognition that the mind can be a master or a servant. Recognition that emotions can either be the fuel that drives forward or the fire that burns everything down. Recognition that every thought has power and every feeling has direction. The battle within is the foundation of all battles. Without victory here, no external success is lasting. With victory here, even external defeats become stepping stones to something greater. And the most powerful truth of all is this: mastery is possible. The mind can be trained. Emotions can be guided. Discipline can be forged. And once the inner world is conquered, the outer world follows. So stand aware of this truth. The war inside will always be the most important war. Choose to fight it. Choose to master it. Choose to win it. For when the inner world is strong, no outer force can ever truly break you. The greatest battle is not fought on open fields, nor waged with weapons and armies. The most profound struggle is silent, invisible, and constant. It takes place in the space between thoughts, in the storm of emotions, in the unrelenting clash of impulses and reason. This battle is within, and it is far more important than any external war. Conquer it, and no outside force can truly defeat you. Lose it, and no outside victory can truly save you. The human mind is the ultimate battlefield. Every choice, every reaction, every step forward or backward begins with a thought. And yet so often thoughts arrive uninvited, shaped by fear, doubt, anger, and insecurity. When left unchecked, they grow into chains that drag life downward. Emotions, too, surge like powerful tides. At times they uplift, but just as quickly they can pull one into depths of despair. Those who live enslaved to these inner currents find themselves tossed endlessly, controlled by every wave of circumstance. But those who rise to mastery, who learn to command thought and emotion, gain the power to walk through life unshaken. It is not the circumstances of life that dictate greatness. It is the command over the inner world. Two people can face the same storm. One collapses in fear while the other grows stronger in the wind. The difference is not in the storm itself, but in the mind that interprets it. That is why control over thoughts and emotions is not a luxury, it is survival. Without it, every external success feels empty, fragile, and easily stolen. With it, even in moments of hardship, there is a foundation of strength that cannot be broken. The battle within is not fought once. It is daily, relentless, and demanding. A single moment of weakness can allow anger to destroy relationships, fear to destroy opportunities, or doubt to destroy potential. But a single moment of mastery can transform despair into hope, confusion into clarity, and hesitation into courage. The direction of a life can change in an instant, depending on whether the mind is ruled or the ruler. Understand this truth: the mind is both a weapon and a trap. It can elevate to heights unimaginable, or it can bury under the weight of imagined limitations. Emotions can be allies, fueling passion, courage, and love, or they can be enemies, igniting rage, envy, and despair. Control is not about suppressing them or denying their existence. Control is about guiding them, channeling them, using them instead of being used by them. The world is full of distractions designed to seize attention. Every noise, every notification, every demand from others fights for control of the mind. If that control is surrendered, life becomes a reaction rather than a creation. Instead of living with intention, existence becomes nothing more than drifting, tossed by whatever comes. True freedom is not the absence of chains in the outside world. True freedom is the absence of chains within. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and warriors in history all understood this. Their strength did not come only from strategy, power, or resources, but from an unshakable mastery of their inner state. They could face chaos without falling into it, endure pain without losing vision, and stand in storms without bowing to fear. Their secret was not mystical. It was discipline over mind and emotion. This is why the first step to transformation is recognition. Recognition that the mind can be a master or a servant. Recognition that emotions can either be the fuel that drives forward or the fire that burns everything down. Recognition that every thought has power and every feeling has direction. The battle within is the foundation of all battles. Without victory here, no external success is lasting. With victory here, even external defeats become stepping stones to something greater. And the most powerful truth of all is this: mastery is possible. The mind can be trained, emotions can be guided, discipline can be forged. And once the inner world is conquered, the outer world follows. So stand aware of this truth. The war inside will always be the most important war. Choose to fight it. Choose to master it. Choose to win it. For when the inner world is strong, no outer force can ever truly break you. Breath is the bridge between the mind and the body. It is the invisible thread that ties emotions to physical state, clarity to chaos, strength to weakness. When the breath is shallow and rapid, the body believes it is under attack, and the mind follows with fear, panic, or anger. When the breath is deep and steady, the body calms, the heart slows, and the mind regains clarity. To master the breath is to master the gateway to emotional control. Most do not notice their breathing. It happens automatically, moment by moment, sustaining life without conscious thought. Yet hidden in this automatic process is a tool so powerful it can silence storms within seconds. When emotions rise and thoughts spiral, the breath is the anchor. It is always present, always accessible, and always under command. By shifting the breath, one shifts the entire state of being. Consider how emotions and breath are intertwined. In fear, breath becomes fast and shallow. In anger, it becomes sharp and heavy. In sadness, it slows and weighs down. The body mirrors the emotion, but the reverse is also true. By controlling the breath, emotions can be redirected. Deep, steady breathing signals safety to the body. which in turn calms the nervous system and clears the mind. In moments of pressure, it is not external circumstances that need immediate control. It is the breath. Breathing with awareness creates space. It introduces pause where reaction once dominated. It builds a gap between stimulus and response, allowing choice instead of compulsion. When a deep inhale fills the lungs and a slow exhale releases tension, the surge of anger loses its edge, the spike of fear loses its grip, and the fog of doubt begins to clear. Breath is not just air moving through the body, it is control over the inner storm. To harness this power, one must learn intentional breathing. This means more than simply taking air in and out. It means breathing with focus, rhythm, and purpose. Slow, deep inhalations through the nose, holding for a moment, then steady exhalations through the mouth. This pattern calms the nervous system, reduces stress, and sharpens clarity. Even a few cycles of controlled breathing can shift the entire state of mind from chaos to calm. Beyond calming emotions, breath can also energize and empower. Rapid, controlled breathing can awaken the body, sharpen focus, and prepare for challenges. Just as a steady breath can quiet the storm, a powerful breath can ignite strength. Breath is not limited to one role. It is a tool that adapts to the needs of the moment. It is balance, calm, energy, and control in a single force. The greatest strength of breath is its simplicity. Unlike external tools or complicated practices, it requires nothing but awareness. It is available in every moment, before an important decision, during a heated exchange, in times of fear, or in the silence of reflection. Where the mind wavers, the breath steadies. Where emotions overwhelm, the breath rescues. Where life feels uncontrollable, the breath restores control. Science confirms what wisdom has always known. Controlled breathing lowers stress hormones, slows heart rate, improves concentration, and strengthens resilience. But beyond science, there is something deeper, an undeniable truth that can only be experienced. When the breath is mastered, the inner world obeys. Thoughts slow, emotions settle, and the mind regains its throne. Yet mastery does not come from occasional practice. It comes from daily discipline. Just as a sword is sharpened before battle, the breath must be trained before chaos arrives. By practicing controlled breathing in calm moments, it becomes second nature in turbulent ones. Then, when fear strikes or anger surges, the body already knows the rhythm of control. The breath becomes a weapon of calm, always ready, always reliable. The breath is more than survival. It is strategy. It is a reminder that control is never fully lost, no matter how overwhelming circumstances appear. Even in moments when everything feels beyond reach, the breath remains. One inhale, one exhale, one moment of clarity, that is all it takes to turn the tide. So return to the breath. Let it be the anchor in storms, the weapon in battle, the guide in confusion. Master it and you master the rhythm of your emotions. Control it and you regain command of your mind. The world may rage around you, but within there is calm, and that calm begins with a single breath. Every downfall begins with a single thought. A whisper of doubt, a spark of anger, a shadow of fear. Left unchecked, it grows into a storm that consumes the mind. Negative thoughts are not harmless visitors, they are seeds. Once planted, they multiply, they spread, and they take root in the soil of the mind. The stronger the roots, the harder they are to remove. But just as a single thought can begin the chain of destruction, a single act of awareness and discipline can break that chain. The danger of negative thinking lies in its momentum. One small doubt can spiral into paralysis. One judgment can ignite resentment. One memory can awaken bitterness that colors the present. Thoughts feed each other, stacking upon one another until they form walls that trap growth, joy, and peace. Left unattended, these walls become prisons. And the tragic truth is that many live their entire lives inside cages built from their own unchecked thoughts. But there is another truth more powerful and liberating. Thoughts are not unbreakable chains. They are patterns, habits of the mind, and patterns can be broken. Habits can be rewired. Just as the mind has been conditioned to repeat negativity, it can be retrained to choose strength, clarity, and resilience. Breaking the chain of negative thoughts does not mean silencing the mind. It means guiding it, redirecting it, and refusing to give power to what does not serve growth. The first step is recognition. Negative thoughts often disguise themselves as truth. They whisper, "You're not good enough," and present it as fact. They say, "This will never work," and make it sound like reality. But with awareness, the disguise is exposed. That voice is not truth. It is habit, it is fear, it is conditioning. Recognition pulls back the mask and reveals the thought for what it truly is, a suggestion, not a command. The second step is interruption. Once a negative thought is recognized, it must be stopped before it gathers momentum. This interruption can be as simple as pausing, breathing, or deliberately shifting focus. Just as one hand can stop a domino from falling, one conscious act can stop the spiral. Without interruption, the mind races unchecked. With interruption, the cycle is broken. The third step is replacement. Nature abhors a vacuum, and the mind is no different. A negative thought cannot simply be erased. It must be replaced. Replacing doubt with determination, fear with courage, anger with patience, self-criticism with self-command. Every negative has an opposite, and every destructive thought has a constructive counterpart. The mind will follow where it is led, and by deliberately planting empowering thoughts, the soil of the mind becomes fertile for growth. Breaking the chain is not about denying reality. Challenges exist, failures happen, setbacks are real. But negative thinking does not change them, it only magnifies them. Positive, constructive thinking does not erase challenges, but it equips the mind with the strength to face them. The chain of negativity weakens the will. The chain of empowerment strengthens it. One leads to paralysis, the other to progress. Over time, as the chain is broken repeatedly, a new pattern emerges. The mind begins to default toward resilience instead of defeat, courage instead of fear, clarity instead of confusion. Just as a path becomes easier to walk the more it is traveled, new mental pathways become stronger with repetition. What was once a prison becomes a fortress of strength. The key is persistence. Negative thoughts will not vanish overnight. They may return again and again, testing resolve. But every time the chain is broken, every time the spiral is interrupted, the grip of negativity weakens. With consistency, the once dominant voice of doubt becomes nothing more than background noise, powerless to control action. Understand this, the mind will always generate thoughts. It is its nature. Some will empower, others will weaken. Mastery lies not in silencing the mind, but in choosing which thoughts are given life. Thoughts grow stronger when fed with attention, and they wither when ignored. Feed the thoughts that elevate. Starve the ones that destroy. Breaking the chain of negative thoughts is not a one-time act. It is a daily discipline. It is the conscious choice again and again to rise above mental poison and plant seeds of strength. It is the refusal to let the mind become an enemy. And once the chain is consistently broken, freedom is reclaimed. The truth is simple but powerful. Thoughts are not rulers, they are tools. When the chain of negativity is broken, the mind becomes a servant of greatness instead of a prison of despair. And in that mastery lies the foundation for a life unshaken, unstoppable, and unbreakable. Thought feelings are powerful, but they are also fleeting. They rise suddenly, grip tightly, and then fade, leaving behind the consequences of whatever actions they provoked. Anger burns hot, but does not last. Fear feels overwhelming, but eventually subsides. Sadness weighs heavily, yet lightens with time. Every emotion, no matter how strong, is temporary. The danger lies not in the feeling itself, but in identifying too closely with it, treating what is temporary as if it were permanent truth. When emotions are mistaken for identity, control is lost. A passing wave of anger becomes, I am angry. A fleeting moment of fear becomes, I am weak. A temporary sadness becomes, I am broken. But emotions are not identity, they are experiences. They are signals, not definitions. They are messengers, not rulers. To master emotions, one must learn the art of detachment, the ability to observe feelings without becoming them, to experience them without being controlled by them. Detachment does not mean suppression. Suppressing emotions only drives them deeper where they grow stronger in silence. Detachment means recognition. This is anger arising. This is fear appearing. This is sadness visiting. By naming the emotion without fusing with it, separation is created. And in that separation lies power. Suddenly, the feeling is not in control. It is being observed. Observation shifts the balance of power from emotion to awareness. Think of emotions as waves upon the ocean. They rise, they crash, they fade. If one fights the wave, resistance consumes strength. If one is swept away by the wave, control is lost. But if one watches from the shore, the wave is simply seen for what it is, temporary, powerful, but passing. Emotions are no different. They arrive, they swell, they leave. The ocean itself, the deeper self, remains untouched. Detachment also reveals the truth behind emotions. Often what seems like anger is actually hurt. What feels like fear is often uncertainty. What appears as sadness is sometimes exhaustion. Without detachment, emotions blend into confusion, leading to reactions that miss the true cause. With detachment, clarity emerges. The emotion is seen, understood, and directed rather than blindly obeyed. This practice of stepping back creates strength in critical moments. A harsh word may trigger rage, but with detachment, the pause arrives. Instead of lashing out, there is space to respond with control. A setback may awaken despair, but with detachment, perspective enters. Instead of surrender, there is endurance. Detachment does not erase the emotion, but it prevents the emotion from dictating destructive choices. To detach from feelings requires practice. It begins by remembering a simple truth in the midst of intensity: this will pass. No emotion lasts forever. Even the heaviest sorrow lightens. Even the fiercest anger cools. Even the sharpest fear dulls. Holding this truth in the moment of intensity weakens the illusion of permanence. What once felt overwhelming becomes bearable when seen as temporary. One of the greatest mistakes is making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Entire relationships are destroyed in a single outburst of anger. Lifelong opportunities are abandoned in a single surge of fear. Confidence is shattered in a passing wave of doubt. Yet all of these feelings fade while the consequences remain. Detachment protects against this. It prevents temporary states from shaping permanent realities. The strength of detachment is not coldness or indifference. It is wisdom. It is understanding that emotions are valuable guides but poor masters. They reveal inner states. They highlight areas of growth. They alert to danger, but they are not commands to be blindly followed. Detachment allows the message to be received without being enslaved to it. Over time, detachment transforms the relationship with emotions. Instead of fearing them or drowning in them, one begins to respect them. Anger is seen as a sign of boundaries being tested. Fear is seen as a signal of growth ahead. Sadness is seen as a call for reflection or renewal. Each emotion is acknowledged, understood, and then released. This creates a state of balance, a mind that feels deeply yet remains unshaken. To detach from temporary feelings is to step into true power. It is the realization that emotions do not define, they only visit. They are guests, not rulers. They come to teach, to signal, to move, but not to command. By detaching, one becomes the master of the house, deciding how long the guest stays and when it must leave. Remember this: no storm lasts forever. No feeling remains unchanged. When emotions surge, hold steady, breathe, observe. Remind yourself this will pass, for it always does. And in the space between feeling and action, between reaction and response, lies the strength that transforms the temporary into wisdom and the fleeting into growth. The most important conversation in life is not the one held with others, but the one held in silence, the dialogue that takes place within the mind. Every person carries a voice inside that whispers, questions, commands, criticizes, or encourages. This inner dialogue shapes confidence, directs choices, and ultimately defines the limits of achievement. If the inner dialogue is weak, filled with doubt, fear, or self-condemnation, then even the strongest external support cannot save a collapsing spirit. But if the inner dialogue is strong, filled with clarity, encouragement, and resilience, then even the harshest opposition cannot break determination. Words spoken within are more powerful than words spoken without. A single thought repeated becomes a belief, and a belief repeated becomes reality. When the inner dialogue constantly whispers, "I cannot," the mind obeys. When it declares, "I can, I will, I must," the body follows with strength. This is not imagination, it is programming. The mind accepts repetition as truth, whether empowering or destructive. Therefore, strengthening inner dialogue is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Too many are defeated not by circumstances, but by their own thoughts. The world may present challenges, but the true battle is in how those challenges are narrated internally. Some see failure as proof of inadequacy, and the inner dialogue repeats, "You are not enough." Others see failure as fuel for growth, and their inner dialogue insists, "You are learning, you are growing, you are becoming stronger." The external event is the same, yet the inner narration defines two completely different destinies. To strengthen inner dialogue, one must first become aware of its current state. What words echo when no one else is listening? Are they words of courage or of fear? Are they words that push forward or words that pull backward? Awareness exposes the patterns of speech within the mind, and only what is seen can be changed. Once awareness is established, the work of transformation begins. Weak inner dialogue must be challenged and replaced. When the mind whispers, "You are not capable," it must be met with, "You are prepared, you are resilient, you are stronger than this moment." When it says, "You always fail," the response must be, "Every setback is a lesson, and every lesson builds success." The mind cannot be left unchecked, because unchecked it reverts to fear. It must be commanded with words of power. But strengthening inner dialogue is not only about responding to weakness, it is about building strength daily. Just as a body is built through repetition, the mind is fortified through repeated affirmations of power, clarity, and determination. Each day, words of discipline must be planted like seeds. I control my emotions. I command my thoughts. I rise above challenges. I am unbreakable. With time, these words become beliefs, and those beliefs become reality. Inner dialogue is also the greatest shield against the voices of the world. There will always be critics, doubters, and those who try to impose limitations. If the inner dialogue is weak, external voices become chains. But if the inner dialogue is strong, no external opinion can penetrate. A fortified inner voice drowns out negativity, reminding the mind of its own power and purpose. Strengthening inner dialogue does not mean denying difficulties. It does not mean repeating shallow words of positivity while ignoring reality. True strength is not in pretending everything is easy. It is in declaring, "This is hard, but I am harder. This is painful, but I am stronger. This is uncertain, but I am prepared." The dialogue acknowledges reality while affirming dominance over it. That balance is where real power lies. Over time, a strong inner dialogue creates an unshakable foundation. When fear arises, the voice inside answers with courage. When failure strikes, it responds with persistence. When doubt appears, it meets it with certainty. This dialogue becomes an internal ally, a companion of strength, guiding through storms and carrying forward when everything external says to stop. Understand this, the voice inside will always speak. The question is not whether it speaks, but what it says. Left untrained, it will echo the noise of fear and doubt from the outside world. Trained, it will become a voice of clarity, strength, and victory. Strengthening inner dialogue is the act of choosing the voice of power over the voice of weakness again and again until it becomes second nature. The greatest leaders, warriors, and achievers in history all had one thing in common. Their inner dialogue was unbreakable. They commanded their thoughts with words of power. They refused to let fear dictate, and they trained their minds to believe in their own strength long before the world saw it. This is the path of mastery, when the dialogue within is stronger than any challenge without. So cultivate your inner voice with discipline. Replace weakness with strength. Replace doubt with certainty. Replace hesitation with conviction. For the voice you train within will decide whether you rise or fall. Strengthen your inner dialogue, and nothing external can silence the will within you. Focus is the sharpest blade of the mind. It cuts through distractions, pierces through obstacles, and directs all power toward a single point of impact. Without focus, energy is scattered, time is wasted, and potential remains unrealized. With focus, even limited resources become unstoppable. The difference between mediocrity and mastery, between confusion and clarity, between defeat and victory, often comes down to a single question: where is the focus? The mind is naturally restless. It wanders, it drifts, it chases every spark of stimulation. Left untrained, it jumps from thought to thought, from task to task, from desire to desire. In such a state, nothing is ever fully built, nothing is ever fully conquered. The mind becomes a servant to distraction, constantly reacting, never creating. But when the mind is trained to focus, it becomes a weapon of precision. All power channels into one direction, and what once seemed impossible becomes achievable. Distraction is the enemy of progress. In a world flooded with noise, voices, screens, demands, endless streams of information, focus has become a rare and priceless strength. Those who cannot control attention are slaves to whatever demands it. But those who master focus are free, because they decide what deserves energy and what does not. Freedom is not about having endless choices. It is about mastering attention to choose what truly matters. Training focus begins with clarity. Without a clear target, the mind wanders aimlessly. Focus requires direction, a vision, a purpose. A magnifying glass only burns when it concentrates sunlight onto a single point. The mind is the same. Scattered attention achieves little. Concentrated attention ignites fire. Clarity provides that point, and focus holds it steady until results are born. But clarity alone is not enough. The world constantly competes for attention. Every distraction is a thief, stealing energy from what matters most. To train focus, one must guard it fiercely. This means saying no when the world demands yes. It means removing unnecessary noise, cutting off what does not serve growth, and building an environment where focus can thrive. Focus is not found, it is created, protected, and defended. Training focus also requires discipline over the mind's natural restlessness. When concentration begins to slip, the discipline of bringing attention back must be practiced again and again. Each time focus returns, the mental muscle strengthens. Just as the body grows stronger through repetition, the mind grows sharper each time it is pulled back from distraction and anchored onto the chosen task. With time, what once required effort becomes second nature. Focus is not only about what is excluded, it is about what is included. It is about immersing fully in the present moment. When the mind is scattered between past regrets and future anxieties, focus disappears. But when all attention is brought to the now, power awakens. The present moment is where strength lives, where clarity exists, where action takes place. Focus draws the mind away from what cannot be changed or predicted and locks it onto what can be commanded. There is also power in sustained focus. Many can concentrate for a moment, but mastery comes from holding focus over time. This is where greatness is built, not in bursts of scattered effort, but in consistent, deliberate attention toward a goal. Every masterpiece, every achievement, every victory has been born not from distracted labor, but from disciplined focus. The one who can hold attention longer than others will always rise higher. Focus must also be directed inward, not just outward. It is not only about tasks and goals, but also about mastering inner states. Where attention goes, energy flows. If focus is constantly fixed on problems, negativity grows. If it is directed toward solutions, opportunities expand. If it is trapped in fear, fear multiplies. If it is anchored in courage, courage strengthens. Training focus is training the very quality of life itself, because life becomes whatever the mind continually attends to. The truth is simple, yet profound. The ability to focus is the ability to create. The scattered mind reacts. The focused mind builds. The distracted mind drifts. The concentrated mind commands. Focus is not about doing more, but about doing what matters without being pulled away. It is about finishing what is started, pursuing what is chosen, and refusing to give energy to what drains. Training focus is not optional, it is essential. Without it, life becomes a collection of half-built dreams and wasted potential. With it, life becomes purposeful, powerful, and unstoppable. The one who controls focus controls destiny. So sharpen attention like a blade. Guard it from thieves, direct it with clarity, train it with discipline, hold it with persistence. For in the end, greatness does not belong to the one who starts everything, but to the one who finishes what truly matters. And that requires one thing above all, trained, unshakable focus. Every human life is built upon stories. These stories are not just entertainment, they are the invisible frameworks that shape thoughts, emotions, and actions. The mind tells stories about the past, the present, and the future. It weaves narratives about who you are, what you can do, what is possible, and what is not. These stories become the foundation of identity, the lens through which reality is interpreted, and the script by which destiny unfolds. But here lies the truth. Not all stories are real, and not all stories are empowering. Some are lies repeated so often that they sound like truth. Some are chains designed to keep greatness locked away. Some are wounds disguised as identities. And the tragedy is that countless lives are not limited by reality itself, but by the stories believed about reality. Consider this. Two people face the same challenge. One tells themselves a story of defeat. This is too hard, I cannot handle it. The other tells themselves a story of resilience. This is difficult. but I will rise. The challenge is the same, but the outcome is entirely different because of the story each one chose to believe. The event does not decide the future. The story told about the event does. The stories believed become self-fulfilling. Believe you are powerless, and you act without power. Believe you are capable, and you act with strength. Believe the world is against you, and you see obstacles everywhere. Believe the world is filled with opportunities, and doors appear where walls once stood. The mind bends reality to match the story it has accepted. To control the mind and emotions, one must first control the stories that are believed. This requires questioning them, examining them, and refusing to accept them blindly. Every story must be tested with a simple question: does this story strengthen me, or does it weaken me? If it weakens, it must be rejected. If it strengthens, it must be embraced. The most dangerous stories are not those told by others, but those told within. The inner narrative whispers in silence, often without notice. It says you are not enough. It says you always fail. It says you are broken. And every time this story is believed, it carves deeper scars into the mind. But once recognized, these stories can be rewritten. Identity is not fixed, it is constructed. And the author of that construction is the one who chooses which story to believe. Rewriting stories is an act of power. It does not mean denying struggle or ignoring pain. It means interpreting them in ways that fuel growth rather than despair. A failure is not the end, it is a lesson. A setback is not defeat, it is preparation. A wound is not a curse, it is a source of wisdom. The same event can carry endless meanings, and the meaning chosen becomes the story lived. The mind craves narrative because it seeks order. Chaos is frightening, but stories bring structure. The danger lies in settling for stories of limitation. Those who rise above do not accept the story handed to them by fear, by failure, by circumstance. They write their own. They choose stories of strength, of resilience, of possibility. They decide that the past does not define the future, that circumstances do not dictate destiny, that pain does not erase purpose. And once the story changes, emotions follow. A story of weakness creates despair, while a story of resilience creates determination. A story of injustice creates bitterness, while a story of challenge creates empowerment. Emotions are not random. They are the children of the stories believed. Change the story, and the emotion changes with it. The key is to become the master storyteller of the mind. No longer a passive consumer of inherited narratives, but an active creator of empowering ones. This requires vigilance because destructive stories return again and again, begging to be believed. Each time they appear, they must be challenged, dismantled, and replaced with stories that serve growth. Understand this. Stories are not just words. They are forces that shape identity and destiny. Control the story, and you control the direction of life. Allow the story to control you, and life becomes a reflection of fear, doubt, and limitation. The choice is always present. So do not be a prisoner of stories written by pain or fear. Be the author of stories that inspire courage, ignite power, and unleash potential. For in the end, the greatest freedom is not changing circumstances. It is changing the meaning of those circumstances. And that power lies in controlling the stories you choose to believe. Emotion is power. It is energy moving through the body, shaping decisions, fueling action, and influencing every interaction with the world. But emotion without discipline is a wildfire, uncontrolled, destructive, and dangerous. It consumes clarity, burns opportunities, and leaves behind regret. With discipline, however, emotion becomes fire harnessed. It warms, it illuminates, it forges greatness. The difference lies in mastery. To practice emotional discipline is not to suppress emotion, nor to deny it. Suppression is weakness disguised as control. It buries emotions only for them to erupt later with greater force. True discipline is not avoidance, it is governance. It is the ability to feel deeply, yet choose consciously how to respond. It is the strength to channel emotion into action that builds instead of action that destroys. Emotions are powerful because they are immediate. They rise before thought, surge before reason, and demand to be expressed. Anger erupts, fear trembles, excitement bursts forth. But emotional discipline creates the space between feeling and reaction. In that space lies choice. choice to act with strength rather than impulse, choice to rise above provocation rather than fall into it, choice to turn pain into power rather than into poison. Without discipline, emotions dictate life. Anger controls words, fear controls decisions, sadness controls outlook. A moment of rage destroys relationships. A moment of fear kills opportunities. A moment of despair blinds vision. But with discipline, emotions become allies. Anger transforms into fuel for justice. Fear transforms into focus for preparation. Sadness transforms into depth for understanding. The raw energy of emotion does not disappear, it is redirected. The practice begins with awareness. Emotions are signals, not enemies. Anger signals that a boundary has been crossed. Fear signals that risk is near. Sadness signals that loss has occurred. These signals are valuable, but they are not commands. Discipline means hearing the signal without surrendering to it. It means acknowledging the message while refusing to be controlled by it. Next comes regulation. Just as the body can be trained for strength, the mind can be trained for stability, breathing, reflection, deliberate stillness. These are not signs of weakness, but of control. They allow the wave of emotion to rise and fall without drowning in it. They transform reaction into response. And each time regulation is practiced, the muscle of discipline grows stronger. But discipline does not mean numbness. To feel nothing is not mastery, it is emptiness. Mastery is to feel everything yet remain unbroken, to allow anger to burn but not consume, to allow fear to rise but not paralyze, to allow joy to surge but not distract. To practice emotional discipline is to stand in the center of the storm and remain the calm, unmoved axis around which it spins. This discipline also requires perspective. Emotions thrive on immediacy. They shout, "This moment defines everything." But discipline steps back and sees the larger picture. What feels overwhelming today is often irrelevant tomorrow. What feels unbearable now often becomes the very strength needed later. Perspective shrinks the false power of emotion and places it within its proper scale. Over time, emotional discipline builds resilience. When storms come, others are swept away, but the disciplined mind stands firm. When insults fly, others react blindly, but the disciplined mind chooses wisely. When fear strikes, others retreat, but the disciplined mind advances with calculated courage. Emotional discipline does not eliminate struggle. It equips one to rise above it. And understand this: emotions influence more than just the self. They ripple outward. An undisciplined emotional state spreads chaos to everyone it touches. But a disciplined emotional state spreads stability, clarity, and strength. The one who masters their emotions not only commands their own destiny, but becomes a fortress for others. The truth is clear. Emotions are not weaknesses, nor are they ultimate truths. They are powerful energies meant to be mastered, not obeyed. Emotional discipline transforms them from destructive forces into tools of creation. The undisciplined are tossed by every wave. The disciplined steer the ship no matter the storm. So practice daily. Catch emotions as they rise. Pause before reaction. Redirect their power toward what builds rather than what breaks. For in mastering emotion, one masters self. And in mastering self, one masters life. Emotional discipline is not a single act. It is a way of being. It is the crown of self-control.